Good evening, 9:34 in Vernon, BC, and it's the 6th, I believe, 6th of November. Well, we got winter to look forward to now. It's going to be a few months. I was going to talk about the fact that chapter 1, I talked about certain things and what God's plan, I believe, is. The thing is, right now, is we are in a situation where, God's plan is a far-reaching plan, and the things I talk about are basically the only thing that I know about talking about. I'm not a preacher. I don't really belong to anything right now, but I believe you can be spiritual and you don't have to be what they call religious. You can, so long as you come to the realization that you come into this world like I don't know how you could say it. You come into this world and you enter it. You enter it, just like into the woman's egg. And there you start. And you stay for a number of years, anywhere from, anywhere up to 90 or 100 years. I'm 90. A lot of people don't live that long. But the whole thing is, you're not here to, all the things people think they are here for is not true. They are here, they think that they're born, when they're born, well, they're going to basically go to school, get a job, get married, raise some kids, have a family, and then retire comfortably for 20 years or whatever, and then die. That's not it. That's no reason for you to be born. The reason for you to be born is to become a son of God. That's what it really is. And you're supposed to do this voluntarily, not being coerced into it. That's why God had to, let's put it this way. God knew that you and I could not keep his law. His law is totally holy. It's a holy law of the whole universe. He can't change it, can't overlook it. His law has a penalty of death. Now, if he was going to have all these people born and raised to be his future children, future sons is what he's planning on, then somebody had to cover for him because they couldn't keep his law. And if that was the case, God would have to destroy them. He wouldn't end up with any sons. So before time began, before anything, before there was even a world here, there might have been a planet, but I don't know. The God and the Word, who basically the way how it's explained in Genesis is the Word was with God, and the Word was God. The way it has come down to now where most people that think about this make it that God is in three parts. One God in three parts. He's not a man. He's a spiritual being. That's as close as you can. That's as close as you can describe it. And there was what was called the Father, and the Word became the Son. And the Father and the Son were the family of God, along with the Holy Spirit, which was God. Now, you know, the premise is that you come into this world predestined practically, because God knew who you were going to be before you were born, and knew what you were going to do, knew it all. But in the one way, he left it open for choice, that you could choose to be his son, and you would want to be his son. And to do that, he had to make it without, he had to make it with no restrictions. He had to make it where it was self-determined that you followed him and wanted him and would worship him. Once you realize, and this is the thing that I think many people do not realize, that the offer is for you to have the highest level of existence in the universe next to the Godhead, as being a son of God forever. That's a hard one to swallow sometimes. I mean, oh man. And the thing is, it's a big thing. Now, I'm going to, include this in this second chapter here, that's for sure. Now, in the business of this happening and going on, and we get to visualize, and we get to observe, I think it makes a difference. I've observed things for now 90 years. Well, I didn't observe much the first years. So, but anyway, if a person can contemplate on that and basically think about it and study it and try to remember what happened and realize that there's a million things going on every day around the world. This is what's so amazing. People, if they read the Bible or hear somebody preach on something, they realize that they say that God is omnipotent, which means he's basically everywhere, and plus all the other things he is. And omnipresent, he's everywhere at once. The reason is he's not physical, he's spiritual. But he must be a huge, huge spiritual being. That he has such power, and a terrible amount of power needed to do that. and not just power, wisdom, strength. And you know, he basically, in a way, demands that people worship him. Not because he's narcissistic or anything like that. It's because his wisdom tells him that he is the only God in the universe. He is God. And as such, he demands that you don't worship some false God, because he is a jealous God. He has a right to be jealous. You know, there is no other. If he wants his creation to realize that he has made it possible for them to exist in this life for now with that realization. And he has promised them that if they totally believe him and recognize that he sent his son, his only son, to die in our place so that we could become his sons. Now, that didn't happen overnight. That must have happened in thousands and thousands of Earth years, and millions maybe. Anyway, on a little different touch just for a minute, there was an election in the United States, for presidential election yesterday. And I've been following those things pretty close. In fact, I first of all started watching Donald Trump on YouTube in, I don't know, early 2016, I believe. And I started watching him put on these rallies all around the country, United States. Man, there was like thousands and thousands of people at each rally, up in the 30,000, 50,000, 40. And I thought, what is going on? What the heck does this guy have? So in October, I think it was about October the 25th or something like that, I flew to New York. I got a cheap ticket to New York. I think it was $400 return. And I flew there, and I was going to stay there for 3-4 days. I was going to look up Trump Towers. I was going to look up some other stuff. And I wanted to see New York a little bit too, but that's basically why I went there, because he had impressed me that much. I went to New York. I went to his tower, and the tower that he came down. It's still, you can see it on YouTube. It came down to 2D when he declared he was going to run for president. Came down these escalators. His tower inside is full of escalators that go up like ladders. You can look at them. They go up 100 stories. No, not maybe. It can't be. He maybe goes up so many stories, then goes to elevators again. But anyway, standing outside of that building when I got there, on the street, and I was looking up at it, bending my head back and looking up at it, and I could just about fall over backwards trying to look at it. It was that high. It was 100 and some floors. And, the Empire State Building, I think, is 113 stories. And I think he's just under that. And I was pretty impressed with that building. My. And he has another one. This was on 5th Avenue. Other avenue, I forget what avenue it is. He has another tower Plus he has now some other buildings that he's converted to big hotels. I think he converted the old post office in New York. That's a big building. Converted it, redid it, made it into a fancy hotel. So I remember when I was there, for instance, I went to McDonald's. I didn't know where else to eat. And I thought, I know McDonald's. McDonald's is good enough for a couple of days. I'll just eat here. And so McDonald's, I went to the one in Times Square, right down in Times Square. And, you know, I could go in there and get a hamburger for $5. One day I went in there around noon, got a hamburger and a coffee, and the building was not that big, so downstairs was the actual restaurant, but no seating. You had to go up one floor. On the second floor was all seating. So I went up there and I sat down, had my phone, and I was looking at email and looking at this, looking at that. And this guy come in and he was carrying his tray and coffee and whatever. And he said, "Do you mind if I sit down with you?" And I said, "No, by all means, sit down." And there wasn't, you know, there was lots of open places. It wasn't that crowded or anything. And we got talking a bit, and I said, "Well, where are you from?" Oh, he says, "I'm from Istanbul. I'm here on a meeting at the United Nations." Oh, I said, "Is that right?" So anyway, we got talking away and whatever. I said to him, "By the way," I said, "I guess you maybe have seen or heard on TV or whatever that there's an election here in the United States between Donald Trump and Hillary Clinton." I said, "Do you get that on your TV in Turkey and Istanbul?" He said, "That's all we get. It's on all the time." And I just shook my head. I said, "You know what? I can't believe that this is like a worldwide thing. Everybody's watching and paying attention to this place." Yeah, he said it's true. Now the thing is, that is a certain thing that happens in this world. That I mean, it's a big thing. And you're actually observing it, part of it, whatever. He just had another election, finished yesterday. He lost in 2020, and he wouldn't concede it because he said they cheated him. And they said, no, they covered up. And actually, there are people coming out now and saying it's absolutely true. We could prove now that for 4 years that they did cheat. And, you know, the way they did it, I mean, the thing, they did it blatantly, but you couldn't prove it the next day. No trail, no nothing. This time they said they won't allow that, and I guess this time they did, because he's going to have 300 and some electoral seats. And you think he's not won back the Senate, and he will have most likely the Congress too. And the Supreme Court is mostly conservative. So he has a full range of power. It's going to be the most powerful president, most likely in history there. He's been shot at twice. Oh no, he's been shot once, but he was attempted. There was an attempted, another one that they got, and they shot him. Now, and he was hit once. They've had like 34 different court cases, and charges, all of that. He never had any problem with anything until he ran for president. And the Democrats wanted to get rid of him. And it was scary to watch because, if things turned that evil and that bad, that they tried to kill the guy who was running for politics in that country, that's as bad as, that's as bad as the worst communist country or whatever. Now that's sort of like a signal to things, like, for instance, there's a lot of people said, oh, he can't be president because he's this and he's that. But the fact of the matter is that God decides who's going to be the leader of a country. And a lot of times, you don't agree with it at all, but they are. And they usually, in some cases, appear to be this leader that you deserve. It may not be the one you like. And I know everybody thinks that they vote and that's how come you get elected. You could vote, I think, all you like. It just depends on. When I was growing up, I only heard any kind of news at all approximately maybe once or twice a month. I'd get the Free Press Weekly once in a while. We'd get it at the house, or the Western Producer. To start with, we didn't have television. We had radio. And I was not bombarded by ideas all the time. In fact, the guy that we voted for, it was in Alberta, I remember him. He was a short, fat guy wearing a brown suit, hat bald, and he'd come around shaking everybody's hand, and I'm so-and-so, I'm the MLA for this district, and we're having the election, on so-and-so, and I hope you get out to vote, and make sure that you vote, and, we're gonna do everything we can for you, blah, 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 blah. Wouldn't hear or see a word from him until maybe the next time his 4 years were up. And I got sort of a sour taste in my mouth from politics right off the bat. I didn't think much of it, that's for sure. I didn't know anything about it, but it was like, these are not guys you'd want for your buddy. Anyway, that changed. And over the years, now let's say that when I was, say, 15 years old or something, 10, 12 years old, that's like close to 80 years ago. Huh. And every decade that changed. Pretty soon we had TV and we had this and we had power and all these things came in. And then television came in. And to start with, television really wasn't that intrusive, really. There might have been a few ads on there, but that's about it. I don't really remember the media influencing me to any great extent until maybe, I don't know, 2000. I didn't have a phone I was looking at all the time. TV on all the time. Right now, in this apartment that I'm living in, I have 2 TVs. I live here alone. One in the bedroom and one in this sort of little sitting room I have. and both over 50 inches. One's 50 and one's 55. I have an Alexa. I have an Alexa show, 8-inch show, and I have an Alexa 5-inch show. The show means they have screens. Alexa is just a voice thing.
I'm not quite sure how to help you with that.
And it just popped on now. So that's the difference. Now, when the place I live here, in this rest home, I listen to people, and it just makes me shake my head that what people believe. They can get very angry with you if you don't agree with what they believe. And it's every bit of it is from the media. It's not from their intelligence or wisdom or anything. But it becomes so ingrained that they honestly think it's their idea. And they can't separate the fact that media is media. It's controlled. And it's really bad. I mean, when they can control people. For instance, politicians can lie to you on Tuesday. And but Wednesday you'll be really upset with these banking, blasted politicians who are so rotten and dirty, lying about everything. On Thursday, well, you're watching the news again. By Friday, you say, oh, well, it must be that. I guess they're right. I guess that's what it is. That's how easy it is to deceive a human being. Now, I say that men are very susceptible to this, but women are even more susceptible. Not just in listening to it, believing it. Nothing anybody can do about that. That's the sign of the times. That is where we're headed. Control. It'll be final control. Now, the one thing that's come up lately is the business of what they call self-inflicted suicide. I think assisted suicide. I cringe when I hear that. I know that the idea now is, oh, well, if he's suffering, he can be suffering. Just get the nurse to come with a needle and end my life. Yep, that's it. I was talking to the woman at the office where I still go, and she was saying, well, I said, do you have a dog? Oh, I put him down a year ago. Oh, is that right? I said, what was wrong with him? Oh, he had cancer. Oh, I said, how did you know he had cancer? Oh, he had cancer. I said, are you now, you can talk dog? Is that how you knew or what? No, that said he had cancer. And so he put him down. Now I thought, and I said, I don't think that's a good idea. A dog deals with pain way different than you and I do. And not that he's an animal, but a dog is quite a different animal. It is an animal that is conducive to humans. It is basically 100% created to your pleasure. That's all they're interested in. Now to just say, oh, well, he's suffering. The idea, you can't suffer. Nobody's supposed to suffer. No. I don't know about that. Who decides that? You're deciding, you're playing God, eh? I said an animal will go and die if it has to. I had to put one down, and I did. The only one I ever did in my life was an old big red I had, and I had him for a long time. The big red setter German Shepherd combination. He was a very, very good dog. When we moved from the orchard, I moved to a house in the outskirts of town, and we had a pool. And he got, I guess it was cancer or something, because he'd be walking around and around this pool with his tongue hanging out and bleeding from his rear end. And I thought, it got so I was bailing him out of the pool, every few hours. He would walk around the pool and he'd tip and fall in. So I just said, we can't, this is too much. And he'd be looking at me. And, I wrapped him up in a big bedspread sheet and took him to the vet and said, we got to put him down. I guess we got to put him down out of his misery. He's bad. I mean, he wasn't whining or anything. No. And when I laid him on this table, and I left the bed sheet, the bedspread or whatever it was, wrapped around him, and he turned and he saw when I left, he turned and he looked at me, turned and twisted his head and looked at me, just looking at me. And, that just tore at me. Like he's looking at me, you're leaving me alone. You're leaving me here. That was awful. My son's girlfriend, live-in, never got married. They've done that now for 30 years, I believe. Her father, he didn't die. He was assisted suicide. Anyway, I was talking to my son, and my son said, "Did you hear Don passed away?" No, I said, I didn't know that. Yeah, he said, they gave him the needle on Saturday. I said, what do you mean? Well, assisted suicide, he said. He decided to come over at 10 o'clock in the morning on Saturday, and the nurse is going to come over, and she's going to give him a pill first, and they're going to all talk to him and say goodbye and all this. And then once he has the pill and he's kind of all, kind of calmed down and kind of groggy from that, then she's going to give him the needle. And that'll be just a matter of a couple of minutes. And I said, man, that is getting weird. That's getting dangerous. Mind you, he was in bad shape. He had ALS. He was getting such bad bed sores. He couldn't get out of his chair. He was in this chair 24 hours a day. She'd try to wrestle him around to get change clothes on him or do something and get his diapers off and get diapers on him. And I mean, he was quite a big, heavy man. So I think that the idea was he's getting too hard to look after. And he said he didn't want to do this, try to keep on with this anymore because there's absolutely no chance getting better. That's pretty hard to argue with, But that's That's a new thing. Abortion first, call it a fetus and kill it. You know, it's a shame that women who for thousands of years, their main thrust in life was to have a family, get married, have a family, and have children. Much more than a man, women wanted children and a family. And they did. They raised the family. They raised the children. In most cases, the husband, he was there, but not as intimate at all as the mother. And she was very involved in her children. Now it has become like a disease. They don't want children. They want to kill them. And they want the freedom to have sex the same way as man. No repercussions. Nothing. No consequences. Well, all these things build up to something that you know, I went to Sweden in 2019 and visited where my father came from and grandfather. And there was a woman that did a genealogy for me there back to 1776. She did it in town. That was her hobby. She did that. And the thing is, if I wouldn't have, if I hadn't got married and had children, as it turned out, it's only my daughter that has one son that has children. My two sons, both living with women and not married or anything, no children. Now that they have broken my hereditary line, the sons have, because now it ends. And I'm here because my line did not end. Right back to the beginning. There couldn't have been one break in it, or I wouldn't be here. I mean, I don't think too many people think about that, or women think about that. And men too, of course, because it's not important to them anymore. They don't care. We used to have big families, farm families. I go back out to where I was born and lived. Can't find any hardly at all anymore. Just a bunch of old people basically hanging out, still making it, but they're just on their way out. I don't know any young ones at all. And that's just in a couple of generations. So that's how fast that can go. Our country is changing from a white race country to a multiracial country of strangers, because now women have reneged on their responsibility to have children. They don't want to have children anymore. But they still want to have sex with men. So it only takes about 2 generations, and pretty soon your whole country has changed, and there's no question about that. And I see it, I see it here already. I mean, right here, since I've lived in Vernon now for 50 years, or 48 or something like that. The difference in the people in Vernon has totally changed. There's so many East Indian people living in Vernon now that when they run for legislature or something like that, they win. They're that big a block. There used to be the white race was the block. Not now. And that's just in a matter of the last, I would say, 30 years. And here, where we don't, I mean, we never have black people here that much, the odd one. Here is the Far East people, Indonesia, India, Indonesia. What would be I think one of the main ones is what would it be? Can't remember. It's in Indonesia anyway, Bali and in there, but it's not from Bali so much. It's from a bunch of islands together, 200 million people or something. And there's going to be a lot of Chinese here. East Indians, Chinese, and Indonesians, brown people. And I think the brown people are gaining very fast. And where I'm at in this care home, rest home, they have healthcare workers. They're from the provincial healthcare. They're in here. There's about 6 of them every day, and they're working with people in here. They're doing this. They do things like they got to give them their pills. They can't take the pills on their own. They don't know what pills to take. They have a bath. They have to give them a bath, and they have to push them around in wheelchairs a bit, and other things. I don't know. They're just about 100%. Except I saw one white woman there today. They changed quite a bit. I was in Walmart a week ago, and I'd been told this anyway. They said, go to Walmart to see who's working there now. So I went to Walmart, and I was at this one desk, what do you call it? Courtesy desk, or, whatever it is. Customer desk, customer service. And I'm standing there looking at them, and everybody in the customer service, was about 3 of them, they were all East Indians types. I turn around and look at all the tellers. All of them were East Indian. I saw several East Indian guys wandering around, and I thought, what has happened here? And I said to this girl, I said, how come I just see East Indians working in here? Why, there's something wrong with them? I said, that's not what I asked you. I said, why do I only see East Indians working here? Doesn't matter. If you don't, what are you going to do about it? And I said, I was going to ask you, but I guess you answered the question. Now, I suppose Walmart is able to pay them less or something. That's the only reason I can see. Either that or the new manager in Walmart is an East Indian who hires. And I would guess that's maybe part of it. And if he does, he only hires East Indians. I don't think that's right. Nothing I can do about it. That is for sure. It's amazing what happens and how little power you have. You have no power. The reason is because you come into this realm of the world, Earth system. You mull around, you do all kinds of things for 50 to 90 years. Boom, you go out the other end, you're dead. Your spirit goes back to God who gave it to you. And that's what it is. It's a short trip through here with the idea that you have to make up your mind and believe certain things. You either believe this or that, which means you're either going to be in the next kingdom with God, living forever, or you're not. You can't buy your way in. You can't do good deeds or anything like that. It's a strangest thing, and yet it's a very powerful thing when God says, you have to believe that I sent my son here, and you have to believe that he died for you so you could be my son and paid for your penalty. And then you're supposed to be grateful for that, thank me for that, and worship me. That's basically about it. And I don't know, people just don't grasp that. And that means that they won't survive very long. They'll just live here for whatever years they have. And I have to say, basically, I don't get a chance to say it to people too often, but if that's what you believe, this is your best life, you better enjoy it, because you're not going to have anything else. Nothing. You're finished. And to me, that's no greater failure than that. Loss and failure. So we'll have to call that good tonight. And God bless you. I hope you pay attention. I hope you realize how important you are and how big a decision you have to make. Thank you.